Yeah, we're gonna. Okay.
I'm Treva.
And Lynn.
Raya. Champagne.
In his house. So today we're going to talk about the book, The Hate You Give, by Angie Thomas.
Yes.
And then we're going to talk about the movie adaptation, which was directed by George Tillman Jr. And the screenplay was written by Audrey Wells.
Yes.
All right, y'all. What do you think about this story?
I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it.
Really?
Sorry. I'm about to lose it.
Really like the book?
I did.
I think she liked it.
I love.
Did you get that little play on the end of that lyric too? Yes. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I did. I really love this book.
Ditto.
I did too.
Me too. Me
What
3,
a
me 4.
Great
Me 4.
story. Oh my gosh. I mean, it is a typical story about like unjust on the African American community, but I don't know. I just love the way it was presented in this book. I
So deep, so clear.
love the
But I
way.
also love how it was a good symbolism of just true friendship. You know, you never know when somebody's last day is going to be. Mm-hmm. So you have to spend that time with that friend when you can. But also, even if you don't spend time with that friend, it doesn't mean that you're not as good a friend as you thought you were.
Yes.
Type thing.
How you can just flip back in time the moment you come in contact with them.
Yep.
Just like some family, you know what I mean? It's like I haven't seen you in like 2 years, but boom, we go right back there again. Like we haven't missed a beat.
Right.
Yeah, there were so many parts of this story that that I love, but that I could relate to.
Yes.
I mean, she talked about how, growing up in her neighborhood, but then going to this all-white school, and I just felt like that was my childhood.
It sure was.
And the way that she kind of had to adapt, and she had like this star and that star, and she just had two different people, and in the end, she ended up realizing that she just needed to be true to herself. But it made a lot of sense to me. I could relate to it.
Me too. I really related to that just from growing up in this area. I had two different things. I had
Moat County.
the Lynette home and with my family and the Lynette school. And eventually I decided to blend them and it worked out, luckily.
Exactly.
But I think that others can also relate to that as it pertains to the corporate world.
Yes.
Because they are the corporate Lynn, and then there's the I'm at home with my friends Lynn. And I think that not just being African American, it does play into other races also.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I loved how it discussed true home life for us as a people.
Yes. And the strength of that family. This was not a book that portrayed an African American family in a broken home. The dad disappears and all of that. I mean, this was a strong family bond. And the dad, he had some problems, but I mean, he owned his own store. And the relationship between the mother, the wife, and the husband
Yes.
was just beautiful.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We just don't see that
Right, you
portrayed in cinema or, in a lot of books. And I loved it.
It also showed that even though they did have their history and their drama in the past with, him having a kid outside of their relationship, and then it showed them making the conscious decision to be together and to make things work. And I think that is not portrayed often enough, that people are like, oh yeah, they're together because they're together and they're my parents, but not how they did in this movie and book, where they literally made that choice that I'm accepting you with your past and your present
And your child.
Exactly. And
Like,
all
it's
the
my own
drama that
child.
comes with it.
Yes.
Right.
But then also at the same time, they made that choice together as a couple and together as a family.
Yes.
So I love how they showed that.
And also the mother. I mean, and
Regina Hall?
Regina Hall in the movie, but the mom in the book, it just, to me, sometimes we're always portrayed as these hood rat ghetto moms that can't handle certain things that go on. And she was, no, I understand this, and I'm going to accept you for what, that whole let me weigh the good with the bad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make that decision. Because she could have said, nah, I'm not dealing with that. I'm out.
Right.
Right.
Or she could have been like, yeah, that's your child. You deal with it. And she didn't. That child was hers as far as he was concerned and as far as she was concerned.
And she also made it seem that it wasn't just, this is our child. It was like, you still are going to have to respect your mother for who she is in your life, but then also respect me for who I am in your life. So when there were certain times, like in the movie, not to jump ahead, but in the movie, when they were at the at the funeral, at the church, she said, go ahead and go sit with your mom, like just to make sure that she acknowledged that, even though you want to be here with us, you still need to respect your mother for who she is. She is your mother. Yeah. Even though you're part of my family, you're still part of her family also. Yeah. So I love how that was played out.
Right. Although the book wasn't necessarily about that part of the story, it just made me feel so good to watch it. Yeah. But I guess back to the heart of the book. Right. Right. I guess the book or the movie. I don't know what you think, Champagne.
I actually love the book. I think it stayed true to the movie, even though we haven't talked about the movie yet. But
we can get right in there.
Oh, okay, perfect. I think it was perfect adaptation to this movie. They made, like you said, a couple of changes as usual, but they weren't drastic for me.
I think the storyline stayed the same, but there were some things that bothered me in the adaptation. Number one, I did not think it dug deep enough in the relationship with Starr and her uncle. In the book, it went into great detail about how he kind of helped take care of them. Mm-hmm. And then in the book, in the movie, it kind of just jumped ahead. You didn't really get how close of a bond that they had.
True.
Beautiful Common.
Yes, he's a beautiful man.
Common. Ooh, Carlos. Good man. Lord. I was like,
I do like also how it showed them united as a family, even though they were slightly divided in some ways. But you had the quote unquote positive black male role model, which was Uncle Carlos Common. And he was a cop and he lived in the suburban area.
Yes.
And then you had Maverick, who also ended up being a positive black male, but he went through his trials and tribulations first with his back. I love the name Maverick, first of all. And so,
I like Maverick too.
Yeah.
But I love Russell in that. He did such a good job playing Maverick. Go ahead.
But sorry. I do like how to you all the time. It's fine. So I do like how they portrayed both. I guess the thug kind of life and then like the mainstream kind of life.
Yes.
Two different black roles and how they were able to find common ground and work together. So their characters, to me, even though they were, of course, offset in different times, but they still fed well to show the diversity and how everybody can be you can be whatever status you're at as long as you hold true to yourself.
Okay, I'm going to go back to some other things that I didn't like.
That you didn't like?
I did not like. I did not like how they downplayed Haley's racism.
They did.
The girlfriend?
Really kind of took me off.
They did downplay
that. They downplayed her racism and they did not mention the other girlfriend,
Maya,
who was Asian, and then she had made some racist comments about that. Maybe because they didn't cast someone who was Asian. I don't know. But that to me, I wanted that. I really wanted that to show that somebody else who was a good friend of hers kind of stuck with her.
And how they bonded together based on that and took a stand like they're not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, especially not knowing how the other one felt.
Yeah, she didn't.
That bothered me too.
I like that.
And
they left that out.
Bothered me in the movie also because I felt like that was so significant to show her two worlds, which was a big part of the whole story. How she's dealing with the two worlds, like we talked about in the beginning of this dialogue, and having this person that she thought was her friend, but then realizing that she has no idea what's going on in her life, and it all was just a superficial friendship. So I was upset.
Yeah, I was very upset with that.
And that the other person, her other friend, where she wasn't, black, but she had the same issues.
Same issues, right.
I mean, I think that helps a lot to bring other cultures together that sometimes clash. Yeah. We are all kind of going through the same types of things. I agree.
Right.
They missed that mark.
They definitely did.
I also did not like how they changed the scene in the church. When the gang went and was supposedly putting the chain on the casket, I just think that realization would have been much more impactful for Starr if they had stuck more to the book instead of the movie. It just, for me, that was so strong. I don't like how they changed why he sold drugs.
Right, exactly.
I did not like that. It softened it too much for me. Oh, that you don't have the job? No. Let's make it more impactful.
It took away his integrity. His integrity was that he had to do this to help out his mom. Were it not for that, there's no way that he would have ever sold drugs.
Exactly.
And so if they stripped it of that.
Yeah.
So anything else you didn't like?
I have a couple of things that I actually liked. I love the fact that they named the reason on why Maverick named his kids and the meaning behind it.
In the movie.
Yeah, they said that in the book too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think they said it in the book.
Yes.
Oh. I don't remember.
They said it in both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They stayed consistent with.
It was powerful, I thought, for me. You know.
Yeah.
I loved her boyfriend, Chris.
I love Chris too.
I did like Chris. They did cut a significant role for him, though.
That was my other thought. Go ahead.
Because, you know, in the
In the hood.
in the book, he was ride or die.
Bam.
Yes.
Star. In the movie, he left.
And took everybody home.
So yeah, that kind of
I do like that about Chris's role. Is how
yes,
in the book, how
yes.
he was like. I mean, it's
I'm not
what you
going
would
anywhere.
want it to be, especially with their cultural differences, and how she was already torn, and how he was. I would say a novice at a lot of the Black issues and Black culture. He was willing to learn, but just a novice at everything.
No, he lost his Black card when he talked about the macaroni and cheese.
Wait, I was getting there.
Okay, go ahead.
But how he was willing to learn. I do like that. But when Seven decided to quiz him on this is Black like food and stuff like that, I was like, bruh, every answer you have like a demotion. There's no breadcrumbs and mac and cheese.
But it showed you how the true conversation probably would have went.
A real conversation.
Real.
It was cute. It was very cute. But yeah, I was very upset that he did not go through because to me, at the end, I was a little upset because in the end, that's really what made Maverick like him.
Yeah.
Maverick was like, dude, wait, you was in the hood through the riots?
Right.
Like, you my man.
Like, you didn't run out and like kind of like got overwhelmed and dipped out because he had some other choice and some other place to go.
Yes.
He decided to stay. So
And
that
also,
made the
means
difference.
you really care about my daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it showed some heart, you know? So, yeah.
Show some balls, too.
Yeah, show some cojones.
And I would say it.
That was so Jerry doing.
I was fighting it. I was like, don't say it.
Sorry,
don't say
people.
it.
That was an insider.
I hate the fact that they cut the character of Devontae and replaced it with Seven, in a sense. Because y'all don't remember Devontae?
Oh, Devontae was the one that went to go live with Uncle Carlos?
Yes.
I was disappointed that character
And
wasn't
Devontae
there.
is the one who got beat up. You know, King's people was looking for him to beat him up. You know, they changed in the movie and it was ended up being Seven that got beat up and had to...
No, I agree because I think that when it was Devontae, it showed Starr a different aspect of like, yeah, you're doing right to help your son, Seven, in the movie, but showing that he was putting forth that same effort for a kid that was not his, being Devontae in the book. I think that made a very big difference too, to show how Maverick's character was evolving to help who he used to be.
Right. Exactly.
So that did bother me too.
Yeah.
I also wished we would have had a little bit of that scene in the end when they got King. And, the first, what was the old man's name? Oh my gosh, I love him to death. I'm going to tell you something. I know we're not talking about casting yet, but when I read the book, I pictured him as Mr. Lewis.
Yeah.
I pictured that specific actor as Mr. Lewis. And I was like, yeah. So yeah, I was very excited about that. But I thought the way that the book went along when it was like, I saw him do it, and then the next person was, I saw him do it.
Right.
It just reminded me of like a Boys in the Hood type thing. And it was
they missed the mark on that one to me too.
Yeah, they left that
They
part out.
summarized it and said like, oh yeah, the community band together. But I was waiting for the community to actually walk out in the street and literally stand up to this person who has been so toxic and that cancer in that community.
Right, I agree.
It was also a little weird. I mean, I know they had to cut a lot out for the movie, but it was kind of weird how we got from Starr being torn about speaking out until her interview, because that part was really cut short. It was like she went straight to the interview.
Right.
So,
with Issa Rae? No,
yes.
who interviewed her?
Yeah, Oprah. Issa Rae.
Issa Rae was the.
I thought it was a news lady.
It was a news lady that interviewed her, but Oprah Issa Rae is the one who got her there, and I was very excited to see Issa Rae. That's my girl.
I know.
She's not who I envisioned, but
No.
I mean, I envisioned Oprah because the Oprah was so
Me
close
too.
to it that I couldn't get my brain
did you?
around it.
She's the Oprah lookalike.
Yeah,
Right.
I couldn't envision anything else because of the name being so close. But I was very, very excited and happy that it was Issa Rae. Though.
You know who I envisioned was Oprah in the 80s.
Yeah,
That's what I envisioned.
with like the puffy hair and all. Yeah, the big
Yes.
thick belt.
Exactly.
Yes, I was looking for that one with like the tent dress.
Right. That's what
Me
I
too.
envisioned.
So in the movie, the scene that they changed the end of the movie, which I actually liked the way that they changed it when they had Starr cleaning out Khalil's room.
Loved it.
But when she found that Harry Potter sword that he got rid of,
That was all monogrammed
It was
or
open.
carved.
yes, and he was like, I don't have it. I got rid of
I
it.
don't have it.
And when she
so
pulled that thing out, I lost it. I just cried like a baby. I love the way that they modified that scene.
How about the cast? Let's go ahead and get to the cast. Oh, did you have something else to add? Sorry.
You're just gonna jump right over that, huh? Sorry, go ahead.
So, did you guys catch in the movie where Common kind of appeared to not understand and kind of see the cop? He only saw the cop's perspective for a minute.
I'm not sure he only saw the
That's
cop
what I
perspective.
thought.
I thought
think
it was
it was
more
kind of the
of
book he was
was
explaining.
trying to keep a persona, professional.
I know
like,
you're not talking bad about Common.
Listen, I love Common. This is
About
my
the storyline, but I thought it was.
and then he was trying to keep the professionalism in that situation only because he had to be the legal reason in that group because if he joined in the bandwagon with all the other people that were upset, it would have gotten and escalated in a completely wrong direction that he did not want it to go. So I do think that he knew the other side, but he had to play that role. Like, this is not for legal issues, but to help keep everything legal for his family.
I was too irritated.
I actually liked it. I loved how he portrayed that because
ready to fight?
Yeah, I was ready to fight.
I felt like it
Just a
helped
second.
Starr see the other side, but he still came back around and said, "Me, yeah, I wouldn't have shot." And I think that's because you personalize that individual. You see him as you. You see him as your child or your nephew or your cousin or your whoever. But he was also expressing how some officers may see this person or see this threat. Some of them are trigger happy and just, see what they see. So I thought that was a good way to explain it or express it, I guess, to us.
They didn't show this, but I love the scene in the book when he found out that the cop put the gun on Starr.
What you say?
Oh, yeah.
And I would love
yeah,
to
I
see
was
Common go
like,
hard
yeah.
in that fight.
I was
Right.
waiting for that. I was a little disappointed that didn't happen either, but oh man.
Yeah,
I was
I forgot about
envisioning
that.
like that scene of seeing it before I had saw the movie, and I had like this
put a gun-
vivid scene
Right.
in my head. Yes.
You know another vivid scene?
Tell me.
The ghetto grandma. Why didn't they show the ghetto grandma? I was waiting to see that.
Oh, what's the actress's
scene.
name? She plays the grandma on Blackish.
Yes, Jennifer Lewis.
I envisioned her playing that
Hey,
grandma.
little girl.
I didn't see her.
You shut up.
Right.
Like I was
Oh my
envisioning her.
God, I was so upset
I was kind
they
of mad
left
they didn't
that
have
out.
that. I understand why, but I was looking forward to seeing her interaction with Starr.
Yes.
Like, all right, grandma.
Right, yeah,
all right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that part I was a little upset about too, but man.
And I also love the fact that she kept a hoodie on the entire movie.
Starr.
Yes, I think that
Starr
kind
was
of
so
made
true to her character with the
Yes.
sneakers and the hoodie, and I
Except
loved
at
her.
school. She took that hoodie off at school.
She took it
until
off when she got in.
But she still had on her kicks.
She had those
Right.
kicks on.
I don't know why, but I felt like the hoodie represented
Trayvon?
the young man that was shot, or to prove a point. Mm-hmm. Maybe not, but that's kind of what I felt, and I kind of was proud of that.
Yeah, I feel like there were certain aspects of the movie that they wanted to sort of connect you to real life events that went
Exactly,
on. So-
because she went through her blog and she read off everybody that she
Yes,
had
she did.
listed.
Yeah, and that's why Haley unfollowed her on.
Yes, right.
I wanted Haley to
Tumblr,
punch
is that
him
what it's
out.
called?
Yeah,
Tumblr?
She did
because of
get
that
punched.
reason.
No, yeah, but I needed
She
her to
did
get the
punched.
beat
Well,
down.
because she kind of faked
But
it.
Amanda Steinberg, if that was what you were going for, we all peeped it. I'm letting you know.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it was really good. And I love the fact that they took it all the way back. Mm-hmm. All the way back to Emmett Till.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Loved
Yeah.
it. And both. I loved it.
How many of you guys knew what Thug Life stood for?
I didn't before this movie, and and people I told that to after I read it was like, I don't mean that. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I know.
So I knew
Tupac stalker.
Yeah.
I actually knew because one of my best friends, he's diehard obsessed like Tupac fan. So he told me when I was younger, but I don't think it really
resonated.
Yeah, it didn't resonate then. It's because I guess things in life for me were just, I don't know, they were different. But as I read that part again now, it was like a kick in the face. Even though I knew what it stood for, but it was just literally how, I guess maybe being at an older age and understanding what it is, it just hit me in a totally different way.
That's exactly what happened to me. As a Tupac stalker, I knew what it stood for. I've known for years. But it wasn't until I read it in the context of this story that I was like, what? I don't know. It just has so much more meaning to me.
Exactly.
That's why I said the way this was written, that it was so clear that people cannot come away from the book or come away from the movie with anything other than what they were trying to portray, unless they just weren't listening.
I also feel as if they visually represented that in the movie when Takani had the gun and was pointing it at the officer. And that was literally like, well, he's not an infant, but he was a young kid. Man. So at that point, it was like they needed to make that choice to have him be better than what his predecessors were or are. So I feel like that was what Thug Life stands for and what they visually represented in that scene.
Yes. And that was so impactful.
Powerful last scene.
I'm not sure.
Really
I thought like I was overanalyzing it because we do it everything. But I was just like,
we accept your overanalyzing because it was on point. It always is, but this was really, really on point.
Very, very good. It's interesting because I think I had told you, Treva, that my nephew had to read this in school. This was one of their books that they had to read in school. And I was so excited when he told me that. Because I was like, oh, you want to watch this movie? He's like, oh, I read that in school. I was like, what? That was one of the books y'all had to read in school?
Wow.
Yes.
Right.
But yeah, I'm very excited.
So let's talk just a little bit about the cast. I thought that every single selection was on point. Russell Maverick was my absolute favorite favorite role in the story. But I loved everything about how they cast for this movie.
Me too. Everyone was who I envisioned, except for, of course, I said earlier, the second best friend.
And Oprah.
No, Oprah I loved.
Well, I just didn't envision her. I loved her.
Didn't.
Yeah.
But Maya, I was a little disappointed that they chose a person that didn't really look. Well, I guess for that school.
Yeah.
She did look a little Asian because she did look like she was biracial, she mixed with an Asian and like Caucasian. So I do understand that, but it wasn't what I envisioned, especially for her to make that like racist comment about her family eating cats at Thanksgiving or whatever. That's not who I envisioned that you would say that to.
Right. But everybody else was on point. I mean, I still can't get over the old man. Like, seriously, I can't get over it. He was so on point. Like, I
just loved everybody.
You know, it took
so
me
cute.
back to high school when they were, it gave me a high school feel, a remembrance when I was in high school, when they went to the party and she saw Khalil come in, that little butterflies.
Like a 90s movie where the whole crowd parts.
And you see your crush walking through there. I love
the
that.
back becomes foggy.
The house party where he walks in. I thought that scene was done really well.
Yeah,
I love
really
the car scene too. When they the car pulled over. I mean, that was really different.
And I love that it's an old school car too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it showed Khalil's appreciation of the past. Just like not just with like Tupac, since obviously it was like a little bit above his age range, but also the car and how he took care of it. So that shows like his homage to like the past and how he's growing from using past knowledge and present knowledge to be himself.
Right.
Regina Hall.
Oh, she nailed it.
Obsessed with her. I love her.
She nailed it
so much.
So you know it's funny. Sorry, you guys, don't hate me, but I'm not really the biggest Regina Hall fan.
Not either.
But
what
in this role, she nailed it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of her either.
I always see her in Scary Movie and stupid roles like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a big fan of the roles that she's always playing, but this one,
I liked her.
This put her on a different tier for me.
Yes, I loved her in this role.
Wait, what was the movie she was in, off subject, that she was with Kevin Hart? Because I loved her in that role.
You talking about with Michael Ealy?
Yeah, of course you would know, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Was that the Think Like a Man movie?
No.
No, it was.
the name of it.
I can't think of the name of it.
But at the end, when they showed the outtakes of this movie and her and Kevin Hart was on a date, I swear to God, they was laughing so hard because,
Or even in like Girls Trip, I just don't like her character in that.
She's horrible.
But anyways,
Getting back to the cast though, Chris I felt was so old. I mean, I did like him in this movie, but he was old. He was very
he's a
old.
Senior.
He was too old. If you look at the close-up scenes, he was really old.
No, I thought he looked right on point. He looked like a preppy kind of.
Yeah.
I think
guy
he had
that-
a look, but his face was too old. He looked like 25 to me.
Speaking of which,
they zoomed in,
he riding
I was
around with
like,
a Range Rover. Just talking about privilege. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but see, that's
First of all, that was my high school.
That was our high school.
Yeah,
Really?
I went to high school in North Potomac, aka Gaithersburg, Maryland, and they literally pulled up in Range Rovers and Benz Jeeps and whatnot. As me, I'm praying in my car doesn't overheat every 5 miles.
We had the green machine, but we had to hide.
But
We were
I went
hiding
to
near Woodward.
Charles W. Woodward off Old Georgetown Road, Bethesda, Potomac kids. And when I tell you, everybody came with Benz, Roves, all of that. And we were driving the green machine, which was Mama's green station wagon
we were
that we
bus.
fought off over every day.
Oh, okay.
The one good thing I can say about going to school where I did is, you did see these people pulling up in Range Rovers and whatnot, but when we were in school, there was no financial class divide. There was no, you didn't feel like you were different. I mean, you knew you were different, but even after school at parties, we all went to parties at like Potomac in these big houses. And it didn't matter what low income community you were from, we were all partying together. Because there was parties at low income communities and the same rich people were at the same community that we were. So that was a diverse experience, but at the same time, it is a little off-putting when you pull up in your car and you just like, did your little prayer like, yes, I made it. And they pull up in their Range Rover, driving all crazy and reckless, like, bruh, I prayed to get here. And you just came in like it was nothing. So
I'm a little bit different than you are. Like, ours is a little bit different. There were 5 African Americans in my high school graduating class. And, it was just a different year. So there was a dynamic in our situation.
There was a dynamic when I was in school as well but the scene with Chris and that dancing mess where he was really not on beat, but like he thought he was so cool.
they were
I remember that. I remember that happening in high school.
it's so bad. I'd have
He
been
wasn't
like,
being silly. He was really dancing.
I know, but he wanted to make her laugh because she was mad at him.
I know, but I'm saying for us that is a real scene.
Yeah.
That is something real for me.
Yes.
That is what I went through.
Gotcha.
And I really focused on that because I just felt like I was back in high school.
for my generation, it
Todd,
came
where's
out
your
to
sit-in?
being like, Lynn, join in. Show me how to twerk. What, I know how to twerk because I'm black?
But
Like,
she
I'm
talked about
walking
that
down
in
the
book.
street.
She was like, in
Yes.
her school, if she danced, she was like the best dancer. But she couldn't take her dance skills to the party in her neighborhood because they're like, well, what are you doing? But she could pretty much do anything in her school. And that I agree with because we could do anything and we were cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a story about that, but we're not going to get into that because it's going to add fuel to fire.
I feel like the director did an excellent job.
Director, screenplay writer, everybody.
Even the music. I mean, there was some music that I thought was really nice in this as well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We didn't talk a lot about the music, but I agree.
Yes!
Okay, so
Voting
let's
time!
get to the vote. I'm going to start, and I am giving this a full glass of wine.
Yes.
I'll go next. And I really went back and forth between a long day at work and a full glass because the end bothered me a lot.
Love the end.
I like the end in a way of like the movie. I'm sorry.
It would be the movie, yeah.
I like the end in the book, but then I see why they made the movie and the way they did in the in the movie.
Let's try that.
Let's leave that in. But overall, I'm gonna go with the full glass because I still think that they did a good job of sticking to what they needed to stick to make that thug life point happen.
I agree. Full glass for me. This is Rhea. Absolutely full glass. Ready to get the drink on today.
Did you feel like you need to have to say your name after all of that?
Well, they know who you
I
are.
know who you are. And I also also will give it a full glass. I absolutely love the book. I absolutely love the movie.
All right, what wine are we drinking today, right?
Out up, we got a full bottle. It's like I'm joking, guys.
This is from the Linganore Winery. We're drinking Raven. So this is what we'll be drinking today.
Yum. Tasty.
All right, full glass.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Follow us on Instagram.
At Read, Watch, Wine.
Subscribe. Rate us. Rate this review.
For this review?
Yeah. Rate this. Follow us.
We're looking forward to your feedback.
Almost like I said, rate this.
Yeah. I heard Ray at first.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
Rate this review.
Rape it. Just rape it.